What's good, everybody? It is your boy, ServerError405, and I am here with my good friend, Mr. Shawn Pittman. You can see him on Shawny Snack Scrutiny, also on the ViewCount YouTube channel. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the King of Queens Conver-say-tion, and
Yes,
we're
it is.
everything about King of Queens. We're both super fans of the show, and we try to do a little scrutiny of the show. And, just a little
Appreciate it.
humor.
Appreciate it.
And we're big fans, so we're gonna get into some stuff. And Pittman, for the people who don't know, why did you fall in love with King of Queens? What makes this show so great for you? For the people who didn't see the first show and they missed it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a show that kind of came out of nowhere. I think in syndication. I didn't watch it when it was first on. I think it was TBS. Maybe was showing. So maybe not.
Yeah, a lot of local channels out here have it too.
We just both kind of fell in love with it because Arthur reminded us a lot of our father. So we were like, oh, and then we just got into the show. And I know there are haters out there for the guy, but I like Kevin James. So you know what? Props. This is obviously one of his best things he's done. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
What hate does he get? I've missed all that. What just because he's
Oh,
like hard to work with and all the other stuff, or he gets people fired.
I think it's just because he's like popular. Most people don't like the popular guys. Like the Sandler got popular and people started hating on him. Oh, his movies are terrible now. And
Yeah.
to be fair, Jack and Jill was horrible. That's My Boy was horrible, but he's
Right.
still he's still fun. And he's like, I think people just hate on him because everyone loves them and they're not niche enough. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the thing is, you see this in like wrestling too. Like people love
Yeah,
certain wrestlers so much, and then when they get to a high point, they're like start booing them. Like Cena's a big
yeah,
example of that. But
yeah.
anyways, this isn't a wrestling podcast. We do have one of those on the Look It's a Podcast YouTube channel, by the way, if you want to check that
Yeah,
out.
why don't you check out Ringside Rust? No, gorilla position.
Gorilla position. Gorilla Booking Podcast here on Look It's
Gorilla
a
booking.
Gorilla Booking. I actually like yours before. We should have renamed it. Anyways, let's get on topic. First thing we're going to talk about is, for the people who don't know, King of Queens was a spinoff of Everybody Loves Raymond, which was a very, very popular show at the time, like number one show. And this was a spinoff of that. That's why you see Ray Romano in some episodes, King of Queens. Kevin James was on a few episodes as Doug on there. I don't know if Carrie was on there. And to be honest, I think I vaguely remember him being on an episode. I wasn't a big Everybody Loves Raymond fan. It wasn't bad. Maybe
I
it's his voice. I don't know. I just never really
I
got
looked.
into it.
Yeah, I looked it up because I saw that, and I didn't realize that it kind of spinned off from Everybody Loves Raymond. I don't think Carrie. I think Doug was definitely on there, but I don't even know if they said his name on the show. I think he was just a friend or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I tried to watch it, but I couldn't find everything on it. So yeah.
I think he was on an episode, like he was just delivering a package, and I think they became friends. Maybe that's a fever dream, and maybe I just made it all up now to sound like I actually watched the episode. No one's ever gonna know. But
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so basically it's a spinoff. So the question that we have as amazing podcasters as we are, who would be, out of all the characters on King of Queens through all 9 seasons, who would have been the one person to have a spinoff that would have been really, really good and maybe lasted, I don't know, 2, 3 seasons? Who do you think? Who would you have put in that
So
spot?
obviously, this is not a question catching me off guard. We prepared for this, so I put some
Oh,
thought into it.
peel back the curtain.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes there for you folks.
Yeah.
I put some real thought into this since you told me about it last night, and I think the best spin-off character is Carla Ferrigno. She would have a fantastic show. Okay, I would
Oh
watch it in a
man.
minute. The 4 lines she's ever had in King Queen. No, um, I have a feeling you and I might agree on this one. Now, there's two options, and I think they both would be good for me. But I think if I choose the one, we're going to give both options anyway. So,
Okay.
Danny's good. I like Danny, Gary Valentine. I won't
Yeah,
mess up
I
his
know
name
you
this
love him.
time.
I know you love him so much.
Yeah, fan of him. But I don't think he can carry his own show as an actor. On
Right.
the other hand, Patton Oswalt is a fantastic actor. He's been in a ton of stuff since. I haven't seen The Fan, which I still want to watch. Apparently, that was a really good movie with him. But Patton Oswalt, I think, would carry a show. He would carry a spin-off show. So Spence would be my choice. And with me saying that, you'll get Danny anyway because they ended up becoming roommates at the very final episode as it is. So you're going to get Danny regardless, whether it be both of them all the time or once in a while. I think
Yeah.
Spence would probably be the best. He lost his job with the Subway. And he was at the end of the last couple seasons. He's trying to get another job again. So
Yeah.
you could even start with that premise to begin with and go from there. So I think Spence is probably your best pick, your best option when it comes to a spinoff.
I think kind of going off of what you said with Mrs. Ferrigno, I probably would have went with that married couple that where Doug had the fucking picture with the top hat and ruined the
Uh,
wedding. I,
yeah,
have
that
a have
I
a spinoff with just them. And if they even stayed married, they look like they're nice
she was
people.
she was so annoying. I
Yeah.
think that might be my favorite episode, actually.
We're married. Just say
Eh,
that shit to everybody.
Oh man.
No, but seriously, this was an idea that I had, and I was talking to my girl, who's a big, King of Queens fan, and she's laying right over there too. You can't see her because it's all blurred in my background. You can see my son run by. Um, I was thinking about what if they did a spinoff now where it would be like the kids. It would have kind of like that 70s show did that. What
Yeah.
their kids would do. Doug and Carrie, they ended up having two kids. One
Yeah.
was the adopted one, and then one they actually had
Two
themselves.
very different sets of eyes.
Exactly. So, so you could have them older. Obviously Arthur wouldn't be in it, so they would, live his legacy somehow. They would do something. Yes, rest in peace. Um, Danny and Spence still live together. Maybe they push like they keep teasing the gay relationship potentially.
Yeah.
I think
Unfortunately,
maybe
I don't know if they could do that now, unless they just straight up made them gay.
maybe or
I
if you
can't.
have
I guess like saying straight up is probably.
right
Anyway.
exactly. I mean you would have Deacon and Kelly who would
Yeah.
probably be divorced for sure, but they have older kids. They have two kids. They could be older. They're friends with Doug and Carrie's kids. Holly, she was pregnant in the last episode. Her kid. So
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of like children in there. You could
Yeah.
even get desperate and get Ricky Lakes has a kid somehow. You can have all these 20 somethings in there, which would make the show popular. They would use the same house. Doug and Carrie would probably be there in the first episode. But then Carrie, she's kind of like not high fashion, but she's very bougie. So they probably are traveling to a lot of different places. Of course, Hershey Park is in there too for Doug and all the other places. So they're never really around. They're doing something.
Yeah.
And maybe Deacon and Kelly aren't divorced and they're traveling with them. So that gives them an out to not be on every episode and the other ones. So I thought that would be a good one as a whole together, but as one
And,
character, go ahead.
but to your point about Danny and Spence, maybe they wouldn't make them gay, but this will be another hint that because they got a house together, they
Yeah.
could adopt a kid together as two single guys. And that
Yes.
could be the whole premise.
Because
that
everyone
be,
has kids besides them. And they
Yeah.
always wanted, they feel that the one episode they felt jealous, like they didn't bring a gift. They said not to bring a gift.
yeah.
That was when Deacon and Kelly made him that
Not the painting.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
they wanted
painting.
to ransack the house. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like, we should have brought a gift. I knew we should have
Yeah.
brought a gift. So maybe they just adopted a kid so they can have kids and be a part of the group there.
Yeah.
But as one person, one character out of the show to stand alone, I pretty much agree with you because I think they would be just great in a sitcom. Obviously, even if Arthur was alive today, I mean, he'd be 1,000 years old, so he wouldn't even be able to fucking
Yeah.
do anything. I think they'd probably be the only ones, honestly. Like you couldn't just do Holly by itself, a show with just her.
No,
You
I
can't,
don't think she would be able to. I like her as an actress, but I don't think she'd be able to carry a show.
no,
The
Deacon and
character, and it's the
Kelly.
character, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
and Deacon, I love too, but again, it's just the character doesn't have a lot of oomph behind it to make a show.
yeah. So I'm just,
Yeah,
I just looked through it. They're all good actors in their own right, but yeah, it would have to be Spence and Danny. And it's a shame that they don't do any
yeah,
type of like reunion show. If I feel like
yeah. I
there's
think a reunion show will
bitterness.
be.
I feel
It's,
I feel like there's bitterness throughout the entire cast except for like Doug and Carrie.
yeah, Remney and Kevin James, because they kind of did their reunion on Kevin Can Wait, but
Yeah, but it's just them. They seem like the
yeah,
only ones that are happy about anything. It's just everyone else is kind of like
yeah,
I looked up Deacon Victor Williams, his real name for people who don't know. Because
yeah.
I'm trying to get all the cast, some people on King of Queens, and I incessantly DM them on Instagram. So, restraining order incoming. But I see he's like doing like stage play, like just he's doing a lot of that stuff, and he kind of
Oh,
fits
cool.
that. Yeah, he
I
kind
didn't
of
know
fits
that. Yeah.
that. Yeah, and maybe you should get on Instagram and dust off the old account, send a message. Maybe you could just do that.
Send some messages.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
way
but
I'm
then
not the
me
only
and you would
one
be
with a
like Doug
restraining
and
order.
Carrie, and we both. That's what I'm saying. We both could have the restraining orders, like that episode where Doug wanted to be invited to the barbecue, and Carrie was trying to change what's her name and how she looked.
Right. he she
Looks like
he
I can get within 50 feet of Don.
he really took this dude to a park and just, I don't know what those boats are called. The paddle, is it paddle boat? Is that what it is? Paddle boats? And they were just out
Paddle
there in the
boats, yeah,
middle, and he's like
yeah.
just rocking it back and forth, like, invite me to the barbecue, invite me. Then the guy's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, should I bring something? Or
Yeah,
just
yeah. So you want me to bring it?
so
That was a good episode.
I am really surprised that like the way the show ended, like they couldn't have a spinoff. Like you would think how successful it was, 9 seasons. It was a big success. Why
Yeah,
wouldn't they just spin something off and just try it? Friends did it. They had a Joey spinoff after Friends,
yeah.
that
And
sucked,
Joey
but
wasn't. I didn't like it was okay. But I'm a nostalgic guy. So when it comes to spin-offs and when they bring people back, I enjoy it. Like for to an extent. I was a big Boy Meets World guy, and I watched Girl Meets World. That got
oh
boring, but I
yeah.
love every episode where they bring everyone back.
Yeah. Because those
Yeah,
are cool. That's what people like. Like whatever is old is new today. And it's always been like
yes,
that. Now
yeah.
it's more like bringing back like the 90s stuff and 2000s now because it's been
So
25 years.
so is it going to happen? We might something might happen.
I mean, I think if as long as there's no like weird animosity that people don't know about, it would be very easy for them to just do a reunion show like Martin did. Like they don't have to have like an episode. Friends did the same thing. They just
Yeah,
sit around and just talk about great moments. I mean, they did it during the
Fresh
pandemic.
Prince.
Yeah, Fresh Prince.
Yeah,
During the
yeah,
pandemic, they had like a Zoom call and they had everybody on there besides Arthur because he passed away around that time.
yeah,
So, they it was pretty much everybody, I believe, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. But to have them on stage, like in the house, sitting around all together would be kind of cool. And I think that's what makes
yeah.
the show underrated because outside of us, there isn't any other King of Queens podcast. You could have Office podcasts, you could have, Seinfeld or
Yeah.
whatever, but they don't really have King of Queens. And I think people missed the boat on how great this show really was. I think it's just as good as
Yeah,
The
I agree.
Office, and The Office is my all-time favorite show. Next to King of
Yeah,
Queens, to me, they're like neck and neck.
yeah. I don't have that. I don't have it that high, but it is one of my favorite shows.
Right. I know your favorite shows, The Simpsons and The Sopranos.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
those are
yeah,
those two goats for you.
yeah.
You know,
Office then is number 3,
yeah,
and then after that, I don't know. I don't know where King of Queens falls. It's in my top 10, but there's a few. There's a few. Fresh Prince is always golden. Scrubs jumped into my top 5, so that's in there now. So yeah,
that was a solid show. Another underrated one. People talk about it, but I don't know. I feel like people get stuck on. They just get stuck on like these newer like streaming sitcoms. They forget what started it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there's a lot
yeah,
of great streaming shows, but they don't really have the sitcoms anymore.
No.
And if they do, they're not as good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because they are too careful now. I know people don't like hearing that, but that's the truth.
It is true.
Like, even right back to The Office, there's some episodes that for one, they don't even put on the streaming sites anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't even last today. So
no, and what's funny is there's some stuff on King of Queens too. Like, Doug said a few things about,
oh, absolutely.
I don't think the LGBTQ people would be very happy with some of the episodes.
No, they make a ton of jokes.
Yeah.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month. And The Office was even worse. There was a lot of stuff on there, especially the earlier episodes.
I just started watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the first time ever.
Very funny show. Very funny show.
And they don't hold back at all.
No, not even a little bit.
No.
If you think that's good, you should check out Tires on
I have seen I've watched season 1. Shane Gillis is like my third favorite stand-up comedian. So
he's great. Well, season 2 just came out, and I finished.
Yeah, no, I gotta.
It came out. It's so good.
Yeah, I gotta catch up on it.
The one thing people have to understand when they watch this podcast or even listen to it is that sometimes we talk about other shows, and I think that actually fits with King of Queens because King of Queens always paid like an homage to a lot of sitcoms during their run. They talked.
There was a great episode. Yeah. There was one great episode where they did that. I think we talked about it in the last episode of this podcast as well. And where Doug kept falling asleep and kept coming up with different shows in his dreams.
Yeah.
And it was a really well done, fun episode. So
yeah. And they've always talked about it. He's done like when he got trapped in the attic during the episode where Ray was there having the dinner. And he starts singing like what was it, Sanford and Son. And you want to carry the guests, So there's a lot of those little Easter eggs in there. But speaking of Easter eggs, Carrie could never get pregnant. No, I'm just kidding. I couldn't think of a segue for Easter eggs. That's the only thing I could think of. Happy Easter. Happy Pride Month. But yeah, going into the next thing, it is speaking of Carrie, her marriage with Doug. We touched on this in the last episode, just briefly, but I want to do a deep dive, and it's all going to run into each other with their marriage and also their finances. So most married couples break up because of finances in real life. Not Doug and Carrie. They don't break up over finances. They don't break up getting pushed down the stairs. They don't break up over the constant nipple twists. They don't break up over the constant fighting. Just the laughable arguments that they have, how angry they get over stuff, how many times they both have lied to each other. They never break up. They don't even really tease it until like the last episodes where she lied to him about Manhattan. So that's the only time where he's like, I'm done.
After all. And Kelly brings up everything he's done in that episode too, and she's like, and he's just getting upset, like, So it's funny that you say it like that because they basically,
And it took 9 seasons for her to finally hear it, where she's like, "Yeah, that's right. Wait a minute. Like, you just now realized all of these things in this moment because he's mad at you." Over, and that's a really big lie when you're married to someone. But to be fair. He's also the same guy who had his own place over the fucking that Asian place that he worked at. So he did the same thing.
And Kelly points that out. It's such a. I think because the earlier seasons they probably wouldn't have done that because like people don't care. But then as the seasons got later and people started like talking on the internet, they're like, "Well, we obviously got to point out our own flaw here." So they did. So that's actually pretty good on them and funny. Yeah.
Yeah, at least they took a little bit of accountability because there's so many mistakes. And actually, probably the next episode, we'll talk about all the mistakes because there's so many continuity errors in the show where it's like, I don't think there's a show in television history that has this many. You might be able to find 1 or 2 in certain shows, like big shows, but this many is just like, it's almost like they're doing it on purpose.
Oh, it was way too blatant in this show.
Yes, they have to be doing it on purpose. So we'll talk about that separately, another episode. But in regards to their marriage and the finances drive me crazy. And before we went on here, I was telling my girl like what we're going to talk about on the show, and she was like, "Yeah, like they could afford the fucking the stocks and spend $3,000 on the stocks, the Shawny stocks, but yet they couldn't afford the mold guy because they went on. They couldn't afford the
But
mold guy, and they had to ask the dad for the money. And they see all these designer things, and that's why they don't have any money in Carrie's closet. So if they didn't have any money for anything, how is she affording $300 dresses, $500 dresses? How come they can't afford? How come
Von
there's a
Fistenberg.
how can exactly von Fistenberg? How come they have to sleep in their car and not go to a hotel? Why are they just walking around aimlessly in the streets of New
Yes.
York and they have no money? Like the dad said it best, you both have good jobs, you have low mortgage, you have no kids. Where's all
Yeah.
your money? And then it's
Yeah.
all in her fucking closet and the nails. Like it doesn't make sense, but yet he gets a Christmas bonus and they just blow it on stocks. And then the stock, correct me if I'm wrong, was at $22,000 at one point because they show him like driving, he's all happy, and then he's
Yeah,
sad
that's
when
what
it
I'm
goes
saying.
down.
I
That's
I
at
do that.
22. It
Yeah.
was at 22. That means $22,000. Why didn't they just say, let's stop here?
Yeah. Well, because they had to sit on it for a week.
Ah, fuck that. It says 22. You fucking sell that shit and keep it going. That means you get
But
your 3,000 back plus 19,000 more.
my
Fuck
brother and
that.
I do that all the time too. Like we're driving and we'll just be like, because there's like at the end of that clip, Doug's just like
Yeah.
he's yelling at him, and then he's just quiet and he just stares at the cars honking at him.
So
But yeah,
pissed.
so there's a couple of other things too when it comes to their finances because they couldn't afford all that, and then there's a time where they afford to take that trip right at the same time as the mold.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, our friends dropped out. Okay, we'll take that trip with you. So they already spend their money. So I guess they kind of angled it as that's their savings. But still, if they can take that
Right.
trip on a whim, they could
Right.
take the trip from Kelly and Deacon when Doug scared their kid. They could have took that trip.
Mm-hmm.
They could afford a house because they bought the house next across the street.
Right.
So
With
like
no issues, no problem.
with
They
no
just bought it.
issues. And if the money was like the next episode was the mold episode where they couldn't afford it, I'm like, sure, because they lost money on that house. But it was just up and down.
Yeah.
New cars and
Buying the
braces
bike.
for Arthur. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bikes. Yeah. Yeah.
Putting
And the
them in a
bike,
home. Putting them in a
and,
home too.
and they only paid like $3,000 for the bike or something, and Carrie paid $1,200. I'm like, for a bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then she had to save a bunch of money to buy him a TV.
Yeah. Yeah. The first.
They can't put that on a credit card.
And
Like
she had to
none
work.
of she had to work all
She had
these
to work
extra
overtime.
hours.
Yeah. When she lost the original one. Don't worry, I'm not hooking.
Right. And the
Yeah.
thing is, they must have separate bank accounts then. Because
Probably.
if they're both putting it in one account, I mean, but then it's like he goes to the bank to try to cash that check that they found years later.
Oh
And
yeah, and when they brought Spence to ruin the wedding, it was the same crap. I don't think they have separate bank accounts. They just
yeah.
probably just spent. Yeah.
So why would she have to work over? Like there should be money from Doug's work in there too. So why would she have to spend or work extra hours to afford the like none? There's not like I think at the end of the day, not just the continuity stuff. Was King of Queens just a big troll for television fans? Like they just made it and they're just like, we're just gonna put anything out here and see if people notice.
Here's today's episode. Like, of course, money episodes with a couple it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah,
But I guess that's what you get when you get several different writers too, right? Because there's another.
Yeah.
Or that's a continuity thing. I'll save it for another episode. But yeah. So one writer writes that, and then the next, maybe the writers didn't get together and kind of connect and be like, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this, so you do this, right? So
that's almost impossible though, because most shows, like television shows, even late night talk shows, they have like 10 to 12. The Simpsons, they have a ton of writers on there, and they do table reads.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, how they couldn't miss it? Like you would think one person would say, like, "Hey, we were sleeping in the car last week, but now we could go on a vacation on a whim. We could just buy a house, no problem. But we had to sleep in the car because we couldn't afford a hotel." Like they're like,
take her to a wellness spa so I can go to Vegas.
Right? Just there's literally so many different things they just did. Like all the bowling league, like that costs money. Going out all the time, going to fucking sporting events, going to the bar, eating all the time, going out with Deacon and Kelly constantly. Like there's a lot of things that they did. And it's like when they actually have issues financially, which was mainly the mold episode, I don't really remember like another like
Yeah, that was a big one.
major
When they
financial
bought the
issue.
car,
Oh,
when they
that's
bought
right,
the
because he was
car
going on
because Doug
strike
was
though. But that's the thing, because he was going on strike, so they lost half the income. So that actually at least
you
made
know what?
some sense.
It makes me a little nervous because there are hints of striking with my work, and I just bought a car, so I just
Oh shit!
ooh.
You better fucking go in that booth and collect those ones. Or the secret is licking your arms. So it
Lick
sticks
your
to you,
arms,
right?
yeah.
Lick
And he
your
rips off
arms.
his shirt. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you better watch that episode and get some tips. You never know. But
Yeah.
yeah, or you might grow a beard and get those sideburns and start pranking people in your
Yeah,
neighborhood.
I wish.
Yeah. Have
Curly
you
McIrish.
can you even grow a beard?
No, this is the best I can do.
That's it. Have
And
you
I
ever
didn't shave
tried?
today, so yeah.
You didn't shave today. It's totally
Yes,
noticeable.
several times.
Totally.
Sorry, I didn't shave for like a couple weeks. I didn't shave. Like
Oh,
this is.
look at all that
That's
stubble.
why I do this. I just want to do this because it's unique enough, and like I wanted a full beard, and I couldn't. So I'm like, I still want to be fun. So I
Yeah,
did my.
it's just try to spread it out as much as possible. Like, it is my beard. This is my beard. I'll
This
shave
is.
mine off and send it over to you, bud. And you
I,
just
I appreciate that.
paste it on.
Yeah.
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 So basically, their finances make 0 sense. Their marriage makes 0 sense. The other thing too is that they would go on trips, like when he just randomly took her to the cabin, which was he took somebody else, but he thought it was her, and he just spent like a weekend there. I mean, the timeshare one, that one was paid for because they have to watch the timeshare, but
Yeah.
paid for the gas, because it's obviously not close by. It was up in the mountains. Paying for the gas, like there's so many different things, and it makes me think like working for like postal, not postal because they're not postal service, working for delivery service, they don't make any money according to fucking King of Queens. They don't make enough money, but maybe they had some
Yeah.
side job. Like maybe they had a hidden, maybe there was like Bryan Cranston was in there, so maybe there was some Breaking Bad stuff going on.
Could be. Could be.
Maybe it was more than
Yeah,
just
his
water
ice cream
filters.
business there for a little bit.
See, that's another thing. He was able to buy a fucking ice cream truck. He bought a fucking ice cream truck.
Although, but again, that ice cream truck was $3,000. That's all he paid for an ice cream truck.
And he got scammed too, because the guy ended up fucking running him off the road. So he just fucking, that's his whole business.
Bought it back for $1,500. I just watched it the other day.
But here's another one. He bought an RV.
They rented that one.
Huh?
They rented the RV.
He rented the RV.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing. He rented the RV, but the other choice was Carrie saying, let's go to France for their vacation. Because,
and if
you want to...
Yeah, that's right. Because France that's a big expense. So you're making a good point, because they would have went if the coin flip went the right way.
That's what I'm saying. And they ended up, I think they didn't do anything, because they ended up letting Spence and Arthur take off with it. And
because another coin flip.
Yeah. And then that was it. And they just ended up staying home. So they didn't get to go anywhere. But, if you want to take a cheap trip somewhere, France is definitely the place to go on a cheap.
Oh, yeah. Just a couple dollars.
Yeah. No problem.
She did say she found cheap tickets on the internet, and that's back when the internet was first starting to come around. But it's still a friggin' trip to France. Like, that's not cheap.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember when you're talking about the internet, like when you look back at like that time in King of Queens, like the internet was just starting out. So it was like you see the laptop. It's like one of those thick laptops, like the old school ones. They look real heavy. And the funny thing is the episode.
And Doug don't know how to use it.
He doesn't know how to use it for some reason, but he knew how to use it in the episode where Spence pranked him with the karaoke stuff. And he had the laptop just sitting in the living room, which he never did in any other episodes. Just this one. The laptop is always in the office upstairs, but he's sitting there and he gets an email, and you hear this fucking email notification, and Deacon's like, "Oh, look, you got an email." Here we are in 2025. Who's ever at someone's house and they're sitting on a laptop and they say, oh, look, you got an email. Like, they were so amazed by emails back then. Like, there wasn't like really any spam or anything to really worry about. Nowadays, people get an
Yeah.
email. It's like they don't even read them anymore. It's usually a
No. Yeah.
notification that they already
Delete. And you
seen.
just do this on your phone.
Yeah, you just swipe it
You just
away.
do this to delete them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
oh, you got it. You got an email. It's just so loud too. The notification was like louder than them talking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got another
Yeah.
one. Like,
Yeah.
what was he looking for on the internet? Why was it even open?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I think they were looking at movies.
Oh, that's right. Looking up
Yeah.
movies to see.
Yeah.
Even though there were still newspapers at the time, because Doug would read newspapers, Arthur would read newspapers. Even though movie phone was a very popular thing back then, they go on
And
the
it was
internet.
on there too.
Yeah,
The Brothers Grimm +3.
Welcome to Movie Phone. I miss Movie. Do
Yeah.
they still have that? I don't know if they have it in Canada. But
I doubt it. I don't think so.
that would be great. I'm gonna try to look. I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna try to call and just see if it's the same voice or if it's like
it
an
could be.
AI.
It might not have gotten rid of it.
Do you think the Movie Phone guy was a real person, or do you think it was like a automated?
It definitely wasn't AI. Not then. They still did. I mean, they still do voice recordings now for things. So
Yeah.
I doubt it was AI. It was just a guy that recorded it and they just sent it out to everyone, probably.
Do you think he made like a shit ton of money being the movie guy? Movie phone guy?
Absolutely. Listen, I worked in the radio business, and we had a guy that we live here in Alberta. He lived in Vancouver, BC, and he sent us all his voice recordings, and I think they paid pretty good money just for him to say "Wild Country." Like,
I mean, can you imagine that guy trying to meet women like in the bar and is like, "I'm the movie phone guy." Like, oh, that's what you do for a living? That's great.
Tonight's that's actually a Simpsons. That's a Simpsons reference. If you didn't know,
I didn't. He's
like, after dinner? Yeah, after dinner it will be rated R for adult situations.
That's funny.
I'll send you the clip.
Yeah, send me the clip. That's really funny. Okay, so the other topic that we wanted to jump into, Mr. Pittman, if you like to start it, maybe you might have it in front of you. I don't remember it.
Let me pull it up.
Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up.
I think it was the continuity thing, and you wanted to. We're going to see, because that's a full episode in itself.
That really is. There's so much to fucking talk about. Let me just go back here. We are going to talk about the Bryan Cranston situation.
Oh yeah.
So that is about them. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to talk about that now.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Yeah. So it's a continuity thing. But again, I think it comes down to the different writers. But I can't imagine two different writers having the same actor come on. So it's probably not different writers. So It's season 2, I believe. It might be even season 1. Well, of course, Bryan Cranston and his wife, Dottie.
Yeah.
Tim and Dottie. They live next door. And they have Doug and Carrie over. The Schmankmans. The Schmankmans. And they have Doug and Carrie over for dinner. And Tim gets Doug to buy these water filter things, Sparkle Tap. And so then Doug ends up getting caught in this pyramid scheme. And, of course, Arthur's all over those things, so he got caught in it too. And Doug finally gets the balls to step up to him, and he goes over, and the house is completely empty. They got everything like cleaned out. But then a few episodes later, I think it's actually later in the season, they have this hurricane that tears down the fence. And who's next door wanting to build a compound or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
It was Tim and Dottie. And then there's another episode where they build a swimming pool. Oh, no, it's the same episode.
Same episode.
So they cleaned out the house, cleared out the house, and ran away, but then came back to the same house.
And what's funny
that makes no sense. It don't make no sense.
It actually ties into finances because he's able to drop $1,000 on a water filter for the neighbor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could do that, but they couldn't do anything else. They couldn't pay the old guy. But yeah, so the thing I don't really get is Bryan Cranston. He's still to this day one of the best actors we have. No matter what he does, it's like gold. Like, the guy is so good.
Oh,
and that was like the early stages before how he is now. Like, that was like when he first started. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, he's on the show. why would they come back and why would they never acknowledge any of that? Like, I again, it's kind of like what I said earlier. I kind of think like maybe the whole show was a troll for just TV people, like people who are just
Yeah.
massive sitcom fans are like, we're just going to put out something that's not going to really make a lot of sense for people. We're going to see who really pays attention, and we're going to see how long we can run it. Because I think towards the last, like the end, I think the ratings declined a bit, if I'm not
Oh yeah.
mistaken. Because
Yeah, I
even
can see
watching
it.
the later episodes, there were some decent ones, but it's kind of like The Office. When Michael left, Steve Carell left the show, like the show was pretty much done. There were still some good episodes after
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
overall it was like it should have been done a few seasons back. So I think that's how The Office was. I just feel like it would have made more sense if they would have mentioned it, because even in later episodes, the mold episode, Doug says, "What about the internet stock that we had a few years ago?" And she's like, "Are you kidding?" Like they at least made a mention to that, like a
Yeah, you're
callback to
kidding.
that episode. But
Yeah.
with this,
Yeah.
especially with them wanting to do a compound, they could have been like, "These are the same people that scammed us. They moved out, and for whatever reason, they moved back in, and now they want to build a compound. We can't do that." Like they could have at least done that. That would cleared it all up.
Maybe they should call Captain Superman and he'll explain what it.
Exactly. Me and my girl always that's like an inside joke with us now. We should call Captain Superman, and maybe they can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that there's like really funny lines in the show too that are just like usable for like a lot of different things
Oh
in
yeah.
life. Especially the Captain
Yeah.
Superman one. Like if you're just
Yeah.
like, yeah, shit's fucked up. Well, maybe you should call Captain Superman to help.
Yeah. Or educated people call it catsup.
Exactly. Say it the way I want. Say it, and he's just like pouring the fucking ketchup
Yeah.
all over him.
Gotcha.
It's like not even edible. But yeah, I just that's the part, like as a fan, like it's frustrating because I would have loved to see it just tied in and make sense. And people who are just like the average viewers aren't really paying too much attention to stuff like that, or maybe even remember a lot of the details, because even I
Yeah.
watch the show every day, and there's certain things like I'll miss, and like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that doesn't make sense. Spence is eating
Yeah.
peanuts in the first season, but then he's
Yes.
allergic later on. Like,
Yeah.
wait a
Definitely
minute,
allergic. Yeah.
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 And he's allergic to everything, according to Doug. That's like when Spence's girlfriend, who is
Yeah.
like a good cook, or she was going to cooking school.
Yeah.
He's like, well, Spence is
Yeah.
allergic to
Great.
everything. So I don't know.
That's
I
a
just
great
think,
episode.
I just think,
Yeah.
yeah, that one makes me hungry because that food looked really good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was hoping
What
they
she
keep her
mentioned
around.
too about yeah, because she mentioned about some sort of quesadilla or something, and every time I'm like, oh, I gotta go eat.
Right? Don't watch that during your weight loss journey. That's for sure. Um, so
Yeah, that's true.
the last thing we're going to get into, it's not really like a major thing, but for me, it's something that like I think they could have really had a lot of fun with it. As people who are big fans like us know, Doug is really Canadian. He was born in Canada, and his crazy, yeah, there we go.
Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year.
There you go, rookie of the year. Um, he has crazy parents. They kept everything from him. His dog dying multiple times. There's Rocky 1, Rocky 5, all these different things. And he found out a lot of stuff. And their whole thing, the way they parent is just to keep things quiet. Let's not make things big deals. And everything's happy. Here's some, lemon squares. Eat them and keep your mouth shut type of thing. But Carrie blew it all up because she's like, there's no way to live. And one of the major things that came out and they've never talked about after that was that he's from Canada. Yeah. I think that would have been great. And you being our senior Canadian representative here, or correspondent in Canada, what do you think about that? How would you have done it as a Canadian? How would you have loved to see Doug as a Canadian and embrace those roots in the show?
It's hard to say because he was born in Montreal, but he was just born there. Like he didn't grow up there. He didn't have any like his family's not from there. So like it's fun. It was fun that they mentioned that one episode. I don't know if exploring it to have him be actually Canadian would make much sense, but bringing it up once in a while as like a joke, like as a, well, you have no opinion on this because you're Canadian anyway, or something like that. The end of the episode, the end of that episode where he stands up and he's like this and he's like looking around, that probably makes up for all of it because that's a banger
That
ending
was great.
episode. Like, yeah,
But
but
here's
I like of
no, go
course, when
ahead,
I
go ahead.
watch that, yeah, of course, when I watch that, it's exciting because especially when we watch American TV shows, us Canadians are like, "Yeah, Canada," and then when we watch shows in Canada, whenever they mention the province we live in, we're like, "Yeah, our province." How I Met Your Mother actually mentioned Canada, of course, a lot because Robin, but they mentioned Newfoundland, which is my home province, in that, and I lost. I'm like, "Oh, it was like one of my favorite shows." They talked about Newfoundland. Of course, they made fun of us, but
Well, you
Simpsons
gotta
also did it too. Yeah.
that's American humor for you. We're just gonna shout you out,
Yeah.
but then we're gonna shit all over you
Yeah.
too. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah.
when the yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So here's my thing is I agree 100% with what you're saying because he wasn't from there or whatever. But here's an episode. This was I believe it was like the last season when Doug hit a chicken and he was like very worried about the chicken.
Okay.
So he was trying to like revive it, and he took the chicken and brought him in the car with him or the truck with him and dropped him off at a farm. And then Carrie makes like a chicken dinner for him. And he feels some type of way. So then he becomes like
Yeah.
this weird vegetarian. He's wearing glasses, he's reading a book, he's doing all these
And
things.
she breaks him.
Yeah,
He
she
goes,
breaks it. He's like,
sorry, he's like,
panicking.
I am evolving, and then she breaks it, and he's like, and you,
Right. Just had multiple pairs of glasses on him.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been funny if they did something like that, like with the Canadian thing, like at least one episode where he's like, maybe certain things just bother him. In America, they don't have these problems in Canada. It'd be great to be Canadian. I'm Canadian. I should know my heritage. And he's just doing every Canadian stereotype you could think of. He's telling everybody, hey,
That would have been
what's
great.
going on,
That
eh?
would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of calling people, hey, guy. Yeah, like calling people guy over there in New York.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's up?
Hey, bud. Hey, get over here, bud. Yeah.
Or like the what's that Facebook thing you always tag me in?
That's just strictly Newfoundland.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
That would have been funny
Newfoundland turn up.
if he would have did something like that. That would have been pretty funny too. I don't think any American would have got it. You would have popped for sure. Like that would have been great for you. But I would have just loved to see like just a sprinkle. You don't have to do like a 3-episode arc over it, like the mold people or anything or the strike. You could actually do like a few things here and there. Like he has a Canadian flag in his garage. You know what I mean? Like just
that would have been cool.
Like he doesn't have to talk about it, mention it. It's just there. Like it would be really cool,
Yeah, just a little Easter eggs. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah,
I'm here for Easter eggs, but I think we're good today. I think we talked about a lot of stuff. I think the next one, we do probably in a couple weeks or so. Continuity. What's going on? What
they did? I will put this in before he found out he was Canadian. They did mention Canadian beer in the episode where he first met Carrie when they do the throwback.
Oh,
so there must have been some sort of Canadian influence maybe in the writers, or a lot of people know that Canadian beer is better anyway. It was mentioned in the movie Big Daddy as well. I'm just saying we got better beer than you guys, but
it's true. Look what I'm drinking. I'm drinking this fucking shitty stuff. This water over here.
And I got nothing. So
right,
because I don't want to get drunk before work.
All right, there you go. Especially with the line of work you do, that's not what we want. But yeah, I think overall, I think the Canadian would have been a really funny thing. Like I said, even if it was Easter eggs, it would have been great. Just seeing how Carrie would react to it.
Yeah,
just that chicken episode, how he was acting, like just out of all the years, and it was season 9, all the years he was on, how much he loves food. He did lose a little bit of weight, but they ended up gaining it back, which was also very quiet too. He just slowly just gained it back and started going back to the, nothing. I think they did mention like, well, so much for that diet, huh? And then he was like, yeah, that's gone.
Yeah. And Carrie was the opposite too, because she had put on weight. I'm thinking she was having kids at the time, so I'm not saying anything about her weight gain.
Right,
but then in season 9, she dropped everything. She lost all the weight in season 9, and
Yeah, she really
They didn't
like.
mention anything about it.
I think she has like a couple kids, and because there was a few seasons where she was clearly pregnant and had the pillow over her, or she was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
upstairs and wearing these big poncho looking things, which not her
Yeah.
style at all. That's the other funny part too.
No, yeah.
None of
Yeah.
those were anything
That's
she'd
another
ever
episode.
wear,
Yeah.
right? And none of those would
Yeah.
nothing she'd wear. But yeah, thank you for doing this. Like always, I couldn't do this show without you for sure. We'll be back here in a couple weeks. And again, Shawny P Snack Scrutiny. You can check him out on his YouTube channel and also on the ViewCount channel. I'll have all the links in the description below. And you can check me out on the Final Four Sports program. Also, yapping if you just want to hear just me by myself talking about whatever. It's kind of like my diary. So yeah, you don't please. No one watches. Doesn't matter. And you can also watch the Gorilla Booking podcast with me and Joe Demented. Also here on Look It's a Podcast. And we got some other stuff going on too, which is great, which we'll talk about later. But we'll see you guys later. And for Shawn Pittman, peace and blessings, of course. And we will see you guys in a few weeks.
Watch it all. His stuff is great. Watch all his stuff.
Thank you.